Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, as they have taught me this truth. And a shout out to Yakian that's out there in the four quarters of the earth, prophesying against Mount Seir and all the wicked nations that follow it, and proclaiming our nationality, blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, and the confusion of faith to be among us. So, anyhow, the first part of this, we were talking about Estonia, and brought out by Elder Apostle. And so I'm going to read this from the website itself. We have built a digital society, and so can you. Name the most advanced digital society in the world by wired ingenious Estonians are pathfinders who have built an efficient, secure, and transparent ecosystem that saves you time and money. And Estonia invites you to follow the digital journey. Success stories. When Estonia started building our information society about 2 decades ago, there was no digital data being collected about our citizens. The general population did not have the internet or even devices which to use it. It took great courage to invest in IT solutions and take the information technology route. Here are some of the best e-solutions that have led to Estonia becoming one of the world's most developed digital societies. So you got all this stuff here: e-governors, e-tax, X-road, digital HD, i-voting, public safety, blockchain, e-health, e-residency, and all this is part of the Mark of the Beast system. You know, successful countries needed to be ready to experiment. Building Estonia as one of the most advanced e-societies in the world has involved continuous experimentation and learning from our mistakes. So this kind of reminds you of a movie that you might have seen more recently. They're doing all kinds of movies like this, but this system is real. Visit the Estonia showroom. The Estonia showroom is an executive briefing center. Our goal is to inspire global policy makers, political leaders, corporate executives, investors, and international media to kick off the digital transformation by sharing the successful example of Estonia and build links to the IT sector. Yeah, this is for real. So we'll continue the video where we last left off.
Because that mark of the beast prophecy has to be fulfilled. You know, so if you live in Estonia, you know, you really can't function without that digital ID. And pretty much all these things that are happening, you know, cashless societies in Sweden, people taking microchip, different cashless societies around the world, you know, it's all pushing towards that mark of the beast, which is the microchip. And the Lord said through prophecy, through the mouth of the Apostle John, that he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. You know, so these things are going to be needed for those people that the Lord ain't got their back, for them to transact or engage in everyday activity, whether it be work or going out drinking or going out getting getting groceries, gas, whatever the case may be. You know, so they're putting a clench down and a stranglehold on America and the world through these different entities. You know, in these different countries where they're pushing that electronic digital way of life. And that's pretty much what the microchip is. It's a digital way of life. The way to keep everything, every transaction or everything that you do, whether you have medical records or criminal record or driving record or whatever, all on that one chip so that it'll be easier for them to track. Now the Lord said, if anyone takes that mark of the beast, they shall be put to death. You know, so people are going to be deceived into taking it as a thing of convenience, but that thing of convenience and that deception is what's going to lead to their destruction. You know, so all the signs are there, man. Everything is out there. You know, these nations are gathering together for all different types of digital technology is out there. They slowly trying to phase. They're slowly phasing out cash to make everything to be on those microchips. Because even when you have those credit cards, even the ones with the chip, sometimes when you go, you have to wait in line because somebody's in front of you trying to use a chip on the card, and it acts up. So eventually say, well, look, if you don't want that to happen, take the chip. You can just swipe with one swipe of the hand. The reader will read it, and that's it. And you'll be able to go to the lines much faster. And everything is equipped for easy access. In the airports. Taking the plane. No longer worried about because they don't take cash on the plane. So no longer worrying about losing your wallet or your wallet is in your luggage that was checked in. You have the microchip in your hand. You can just swipe your hand, or they can swipe your hand, and you can pay for your drinks or your food or whatever. So this world is geared towards it because those are part of the process of Yahweh Hashem Shai. So since I was listening to that lesson or listening to that lecture, I guess you could call it, or information, I decided to do like a little video on it, to put brothers up that don't know. I'm pretty sure some brothers may know about it already, and just push this word even more, and push that mark of the beast is coming, which is a microchip, and don't take it, because if you do take it, you will be destroyed. Brothers up that don't know, I'm pretty sure some brothers may know about it already, and just.
So, anyhow, go to the next part. So, yeah, we're the only groups that actually teach. We're the only group that really teaches that the micro of the beast is the microchip, So, here's another article. Without family, U.S. children in foster care can easy prey for human traffickers. Children removed from the UNIF families and put in foster care are terrifyingly vulnerable to be trafficked, a fact that Amy Andrews knows all too well. She spun in and out of her abusive family home into the child welfare system, starting when she was 10 years old. By 14, she was selling sex on Hollywood's Sunset Boulevard, working for traffickers who exploited her naivete and need for attention. I'm loved, I'm wanted, I'm cared for, I'm given everything I want, and no one blames me, Andrews said of being trafficked, and I'm being sexually abused, but I can overlook that. So, again, hundreds of U.S. children live in foster care, prey to predator sex traffickers who may find their young victims at bus stops, shopping malls, or street corners, as well as on social media and online chat rooms, which is another reason why we don't go on Facebook or any of them other things, is because of the fact that, as well as I do, that the FBI is watching those things, because you have this shit going on, which is a front, but yet at the same time, it really is real. But we know who the biggest human traffickers are. Of course, your politicians. Donald Trump is a human trafficker. So we're going to look more at this as the American vagabond, who, I was turned on to this through another brother in Chicago, GMS Maccabean Spirit, Brother Malcolm, and so been catching a few of his videos, so he covered the subject a little more. So we're going to look at his video, and hopefully I can get most of this in here. Shalom.
Everyone has no doubt seen what's going on in North Korea, which is basically the story that has seemed to have been covered instead of basically everything else. And it's, in a lot of ways, it is very important, but it seems to be eclipsing a lot of other big things going on, especially all the other big globalist events going on around the world, which we've recently talked about, such as the G7 or the Shanghai Cooperation Summit or possibly Bilderberg or many other very important topics, some of which we'll get into today. But I felt it was important to cover what had happened because it is relevant in general. However, I've avoided covering every single step of the way, as many have, because it's a lot of speculation. And even still, what's going on right now is a lot of speculation. But it's important to be measured in this and understand that nothing is certain as of yet. It's still all basically hypotheticals, but I'm going to break down what's happened so far and give you a little insight on what's actually going on here. Now, essentially, after this summit that was recently held, by all accounts, it was very cordial and very positive. All these, very hot, just a lot of flowery words being thrown around.
I'm going to try to make this video better. Shalom.
Now, many are clearly pointing that this agreement looks a lot like the agreements of the past between the United States and North Korea, which they claim North Korea reneged on, which is false. The denuclearization agreements to which North Korea had agreed in 1994, again in 2005 and 2007, failed primarily because of the reluctance of the Clinton and Bush administrations to commit to entering into a normal political and economic relationship with North Korea, which is entirely the point. Geopolitical control in the area, primarily as a foothold in regard to China and U.S. hegemony in general, which is why many are cautioning limited optimism here, as the U.S. will likely fall back into old patterns of broken agreements and strong-arming via military power. But you will likely hear the exact opposite from mainstream media, spinning a different yarn about Kim, the maniac trickster who has never held to an agreement, which has no basis in reality, as little of their content ever does, and ensuring Americans are ever the mindless servants of the military-industrial complex.
All right, I'm going to go to another part of this.
Realize, as we've shown many times in the past, that the United States is intricately involved in what's going on there, planning the bombings, even pointing to areas on a map, continuing to fund them and give them missiles and bombs. I mean, it's ongoing and wildly hypocritical as we see this continue to be carried out. More things we need to continue to talk about, continue to call out, as the United States points at other countries claiming their human rights abuses. Moving on to the next story, and the final story of the day, coming from the freethoughtproject.com, chilling NCMEC report shows 88% of missing sex-trafficked kids come from U.S. foster care. In 2017, NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, assisted law enforcement with over 27,000 cases of missing children, the majority who were considered endangered runaways. According to their most recent report compiled from FBI data and their own, of nearly 25,000 runaways reported to NCMEC in 2017, 1 in 7 were likely victims of child sex trafficking. Of those, 88% were in the care of social services when they went missing. Other governmental organizations have corroborated this horrifying trend. In a 2013 FBI 70-city nationwide raid, 60% of the victims came from foster care or group homes. In 2014, New York authorities estimated that 85% of sex trafficking victims were previously in the child welfare system. In 2012, Connecticut police rescued 88 children from sex trafficking. 86 were from the child welfare system. Now, whether or not one wants to make this about the very system meant to protect these kids, actually funneling them into these situations,
like ISIS,
a lot of evidence to suggest, one thing is abundantly clear here. The claim that taking kids into state custody is a way of protecting them or will somehow better their lives is patently false, especially when we are dealing with cases of medical kidnapping, such as cannabis use or refusal to administer vaccines or chemotherapy, etc. Keith Stroke, founder of National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, or NORML, told the Daily Chronic that his team gets calls 3 or 4 times a week from people who have lost custody of their children because they tested positive for cannabis at birth or in a situation where parents were feuding over custody. This kidnapping even occurs in regions where marijuana is legal. Now think about that. They're putting these kids in these situations where we just talked about these statistics are that high because they disagree with the cannabis aspect, which is just infuriating. As the author notes, it should be noted that there are certain instances of abusive parents who should not have custody of their children.
Getting back to the point in the article, well, you know how hypocritical the whore Babylon the Great is. You know, they pretend to be fighting the terror groups like ISIS and then pretend to care for kids that come from abusive situations, but then they got the Stockholm Syndrome. Nobody wanted me. This set me up to be vulnerable and needy, she told Thomas Reuters Foundation. So, just from one situation to another. America, how hypocritical. That's Babylon.